All right.
Oh, I tried. Funny, this is actually the old link. Oh, I tried. Funny, I
Oh.
don't. Well, it's okay. It doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, it works. So
As long as it works. As long as one of them works.
I think yeah, I think there was an old link.
Well, I have an email that says like from October 5th last year, and it says here's the permanent NRL Colin link.
Yeah.
And then I got another one that says this is the real link,
Oh.
which was March 28th. So anyway, it doesn't matter. As long as one of them works.
No, one of them works.
We
Welcome to
just,
the
Tony, we just had a call with the reviewer from CCAB
cool.
for our certification.
Nice.
This guy, Tony,
Oh
white guy.
wait. We are live.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you.
They're wonderful. They are
He was fantastic. He
that's what I thought.
very thorough.
Thorough.
I was impressed
That's what you want is a thorough
and
reviewer.
fair-minded, right? And
Fair
that's
man.
what this was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
I'm sure everyone out here in the pre-show is listening to us, is agreeing with us. I'm sure you are.
I also got an email, Tony, from Roy,
Oh, okay.
and he liked the live stream broadcast on the NRL Federal EA. He
Oh,
watched the video this morning.
oh, nice.
Like, remember the overview we did two
Yeah,
weeks ago? He liked that.
that's I like when because I know some of the topics are heady, so
Yeah,
when people are like, you know
but the
what,
fact
thank
that
you.
people will actually watch them. Oh, and I got another email, Tony, just from Greg Monroe yesterday. From
Nice.
yesterday,
What he said.
he said, "I enjoyed the quick meeting and look forward to when you're able to come to Mishkagokabang, as we are all partners in developing the North with our northern brothers.
I love it.
We see that we can be part of developing our resources and benefiting from being a part of your project."
Amazing.
That's
Love to
great,
see it.
isn't that fantastic?
Yeah, you love to see it. We should go gargaming if any of you are listening right now. Hello. I have to think about every
I'm gonna
time
forward. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna forward this to Mike because he gave me his phone number, and so we can set up a meeting.
Nice.
Oh, he's also with a company. Okay, that's good. Good.
So I'm
You
a
got my
lone
song
wolf.
list,
I'm
right?
a lone wolf today, so
You're a lone wolf,
might be a little
missing your
slower
pack.
in getting stuff. So I'm running like 5 programs at once. I think I got them all. We're all running. The link's been sent in. The phone-in network's up. The DJing might just be a little slow, so just make sure to give me that song early, and then describe it so I get the time.
Yep, I will do that.
Thank you, sir. Brando's in Toronto at the Stranger Things Museum.
Oh, that's right. I remember he told me he was going with
He
his
went on a
nephew or
vacation.
something,
He
or
went
I
on a
can't remember.
vacation with his no, it's with his new girlfriend.
Oh, with his new girlfriend.
So
Yeah,
this is his little vacation. He's doing an early vacation because he won't have time later this summer. So I think
yeah,
he's
yeah.
just going for 3 days or something.
That I remember that now.
Yeah, he warned me like 3 months ago, so it still caught me off guard.
Yeah, I know.
I'm like, oh yeah, that's right.
That's a lot to do for you, right?
Oh, it's only running
Well,
a radio show.
you got a lot going on
It's only running a
at the
radio show,
same
Don.
time. Yeah, only a one-person radio show.
One person. We'll rock it. It's like I wouldn't want to do this every week like this, but I'll handle. There might be a little slow down, a little more talking on my behalf while I'm searching for songs, but got this new mini fridge. It fits 6 colas.
Oh,
It's a USB powered mini fridge. Only
no way.
it looks like one of those old school fridges with the big metal latch. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I like those.
Yeah, the you go in. Your uncle would have
Yeah, you
beers in
pull
there.
the lever, right?
Yeah, they were old in the '70s, so I got a little mini one. It's got the little latch and everything.
I remember the house I grew up in. When we moved in, it had one of those old fridges. I think it must have been from like the early '60s, eh?
Yeah.
Had the big lever on it too. It
Oh,
was
nice.
in a bar,
Oh
like in the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
basement. They had this bar area. Like the funny thing is, it was all out of date, right? It was like 10 years out of date.
Mm-hmm.
Everything. We lived there for like uh, almost 20 years or 18 years.
Wow.
Never touched, never changed it.
So then it was
It
really
stayed
well.
the same.
Then it came back in.
It came back
Yeah,
in.
people
That's
are like,
right. That
"Wow, you
fridge would
guys
be
really,
worth a lot of money
yeah,
now.
you guys really killed it down here." Like, yeah, that's what we did. Where'd you get the original wood grain?
You know what I saw the other day, Tony? One of those station wagons with the,
Oh, nice.
they used to call them woodies. You know,
Mm-hmm,
with
the
the
woodies,
wood
yeah.
grain. Yeah,
Oh, woodies, yeah. I never understood why that went out of
hilarious.
favor because it was like, I know we think of automobiles being made out of steel, but why can't we put some wood in there?
Yeah, exactly. Except it was vinyl, wasn't it?
This is this is so like when you look at cars and they're battery powered and stuff, like that seems like the time to start putting wood and kind of organic stuff on vehicles.
Yes, organic things.
You know, plywood,
Burn, plywood burns well in a fire.
a couple pieces of 2x4 on top of the roof, burnishing your environmentalism,
Exactly.
your credentials.
We
Oh
can
wow!
you can stain it whatever color you want.
Look at Tony's really environmental. He's got some 2x4s and a 4x10 on top of his vehicle.
Let me see. I gotta find this presentation. There it is.
We're a
Okay.
minute and a half out, so
All right. Oh, that's like hours.
yeah, that is it's a ton of time. Organizing my desk real quick so I can have sanity. There, I'm good. We are good. So we're gonna start at 7 seconds too. So I'm gonna go radio silent.
All
And
right.
start the show.
Okay, sounds good. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Don Parkinson, and I'm a senior consultation specialist with S&C Lavalin. Today, we are continuing our series of live stream topics as our project moves through the federal impact assessment process. The topics we are covering parallel our project activities, so we hope these will help our viewers and listeners better understand the project and provide input along the way. We are broadcasting on the Wabate Radio Network to help reach community members about our project. Listeners can call or text us with questions and comments about the project at 1-844-424-0500. That's 1-844-424-0500. We try to keep the show fun and informal while being informative at the same time. We also do take music requests as long as you provide us with a comment or question about the project. So again, that number is 1-844-424-0500. So let's get started. Today we're going to talk about a specific component of the federal impact assessment process, and it's called the Detailed Project Description, or DPD. And the reason we're doing this is to help community members understand the thinking behind this component and the activities associated with it. So this is all part of a series of different presentations. There's a live stream as well as the radio show, and the idea is to keep community members sort of aware of the process and where we are in the process, and be able to sort of follow along. Because for many, this is very new. We have both a provincial process and a federal process. It can often get confusing, so we're here to try to make that a little bit clearer. So let's get started now. I'm going to run through now some of the topics we're going to cover today. So we're going to lead off by talking about the main phases in the impact assessment process. Then we're going to break into phase one, the planning phase, which is where the DPD sits. We're going to then begin our discussion on the detailed project description, talk about its general requirements, its key components, and then talk about the impact assessment determination at the end. So we hope you find this interesting. And before we go into our first song, what I thought I'd do is talk a little bit about the main phases in the impact assessment process. So there's 5 main phases. It starts off with the planning phase, which is where we currently are with this project. Our detailed project description was submitted, I believe, just over 10 days ago, for a conformity review, and then so I'll get into the details of that process and what occurs after that. But the next main phase is what's called the impact statement phase, and then there's the impact assessment phase, where the impact statement is reviewed. There's a decision-making phase, and then there's a post-decision phase where you get into commitments and monitoring as well. So those are the main overall phases. This occurs over, a lengthy period of time, typically in years. So before we go into the details of the planning phase, why don't we take our first break, and this week we're going to feature some blues music. And as you probably know, we tend to move around the musical spectrum, and I thought this week some blues music would be fun. Some of this stuff is pretty old, and some of it's somewhat new. And Tony, if you can, one song I'd like to do is a song called "I'm in the Mood."
Oh wow!
As we have an emergency alert, and you never know what's going to happen, Tony. So our first song coming up is called "I'm in the Mood" by John Lee Hooker and Bonnie Raitt. This is a relatively new song.
I have that set up.
You do? Well, let's listen to "I'm in the Mood" by John Lee Hooker and Bonnie Raitt, and then we'll come back and start talking about the planning phase.
I'm in the mood. I'm in the mood for love. Yes, I am. I'm in the mood. I'm in the mood for love. I'm in the mood, I'm in the mood. I'm in the mood for love. Lord, 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 Lord. Look now. I said, right time, the right time to be the one you love. When night and night come, baby, you so far away, away, away. I'm in the mood, Lord, Lord, Lord. I'm in the mood, in the mood, mood. I'm in the mood for love. I'm in the mood, I'm in the mood. Oh, Lord, I'm in the mood for love. What, Ray?
Yes, my daddy told me
I know he
to
did.
leave that man alone.
Yes, he did.
But my dad didn't tell me, Lord God, what the man was putting down.
You know he did.
I'm in a mood for some of your love.
Baby.
I'm in a mood. I'm in a mood for love.
Love. Yeah.
Right, Charlie?
Play it. Play it, baby. Lord, little bunny Ray. Sugar. If I can't be with you, baby, I don't want to be with no one else. I can't get my thrill, baby. I'm looking to be with you. Go night time and right time. Oh Lord, to be with the one you love. I'm in the mood, baby. Oh Lord, I'm in the mood of love. Lord, how much on me? How much on me? How much on me? Lord, I'm in the mood for you, baby. In the mood for you, baby. And now, bunny. What can I do, baby? I love you, you. I love you, bunny. What can I do?
I hear you call.
I'm in the mood.
I'm in the mood.
Some of your love.
I'm coming on.
Some of your love. I'm in the mood.
I'm in a mood, baby. I'm in a mood for some of your love.
All right, that was "I'm in the Mood" by John Lee Hooker and Bonnie Raitt. That's a blues classic.
That's great. I love
Huh?
that.
Isn't that a great one, Tony? That's a great song.
A lot of people don't
I don't know.
underestimate Bonnie Raitt's blues. I think they think of her kind of as a
Oh.
rock pop star, kind of like a Sheryl Crow, but Bonnie Raitt's actually
Yes.
a legitimate blues lady.
I think that's where she, earned her stripes. I think, right? She was
think
around for a
originally, yeah.
long time before everyone started. She started to move more into sort of like a rock pop.
Like rock, yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know when that was, maybe late 80s or 90s or something like
Yeah.
that. But before that, yeah, you're right. Like she was hardcore blues. I mean, you're singing with John Lee Hooker. That's as blues as it gets, right?
You'd see her even on Austin Limits. I don't know if you remember that show.
Yeah, Austin City
You'd
Limits.
see Bonnie
Yeah,
Raitt
I remember
on there
that
playing
show.
blues with legitimate players.
Those were, that show it always had the finest, right?
The
Those
finest.
were the hardcore blues people that were on that show for sure.
Yeah.
I remember that show. Yeah. Anyway, great song. Got a lot more coming along the in the blues category. That's for sure. So why don't we move now into a little sort of a high level discussion of the planning phase, and then we'll dive a little bit deeper after that. But before we do that, I'll remind everyone that they can call or text us with questions or comments about the project at 1-844 424 0500, 1-844 424 0500. And as I mentioned, we do take music requests as long as you provide us with a comment or question about the project. So let's look at that planning phase. And the way IAC, or the Impact Assessment Agency of Canada, describes the planning phase is, is this way. The public and Indigenous people are invited to provide information and contribute to the planning the assessment. So this is about shaping the overall impact assessment. So there's a series of procedural steps, but as these steps are occurring, there is a lot of interaction with the general public and with Indigenous communities as well. And the idea is to get that input to help feed the process to develop as comprehensive um, a process that captures as many of people's interests and tries to address as many concerns as possible. So let's go through the basic steps. The first is an initial project description is prepared. This is sort of a higher level description of the project. And we have done that already on this project. And we've received feedback on it. It has gone out for public review. Um, the next step is the topic of today, which is the detailed project description, or DPD. We have just we have completed this. We have submitted this. It's now going through, or it may be finished now, what's called a conformity review, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. Um, and then after that, there's the agency, or the Impact Assessment Agency of Canada, um, makes a determination through review of the DPD, um, makes a determination as to whether an impact assessment is required. And if in fact it is, then the Impact Assessment Agency of Canada prepares what are called Tailored Impact Statement Guidelines, or TISG, TISG. These are prepared and these are issued. Now, what these are is like I mean, the equivalent on the provincial side is essentially like a terms of reference. So it's essentially the work plan for the impact assessment. So in this case, it's actually prepared by the Impact Assessment Agency of Canada. So that's sort of the higher level description of the planning phase. Um, and so that first component, or the second main deliverable, I guess, of the planning phase is the detailed project description. So after the initial project description has been submitted and reviewed, then the next step is the detailed one. And in terms of sort of the detailed project description and what it does, it's basically it responds to what's called a summary of issues. And a summary of issues is prepared after the initial project description has been submitted and reviewed. So there are issues identified based not only by the reviewers at the Impact Assessment Agency of Canada, but also on input received from the general public and Indigenous communities. Because of course IAC conducts their own engagement and consultation, and that goes with the general public, with Indigenous communities, as I mentioned, as well as provincial, territorial, and other Indigenous jurisdictions. And so there's a lot of feedback that is received um, leading up to this stage of the DPD, the detailed project description. And the DPD, the detailed project description, is the main basis from which IAC makes a decision as to whether an impact assessment is required, um, and to inform the tailored impact statement guidelines. So the tailored impact statement guidelines look at the detailed project description, and you'll see what the contents are in a couple of minutes. And they draw from that. They draw up the tailored impact statement guidelines, the work plan for the impact assessment. So I will continue with the detailed project description rundown in a minute, but before we do that, I think we're ready for another blues song here, Tony.
What are you thinking?
And I'm thinking "The Thrill Is Gone" by B.B. King, which many people will recognize. I think it's a pretty recognizable song. You've probably heard this one many times, Tony.
I have. And there's a few different versions actually.
There are many different versions.
There's a Tracy
Yeah.
Chapman version. There's a live in Cook County Jail version.
Yeah, that was the one. Is that Johnny Cash?
No, that's The Thrill Is Gone. He did a show live in Cook County Jail as well.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. I thought, but that's the ultimate compliment, isn't it, Tony?
That's true.
You write a song like this, and you have so many people covering it.
So I think we're gonna have to go with that version.
Okay, let's do. Is this the live version
This is
from
the live in
Cook County Jail?
which will be amazing.
Let's go
'cause
with
I'm sure
that.
It'll be just as good.
B.B. King, "The Thrill Is Gone." Okay, we are back. That was The Thrill Is Gone by B.B. King. What do you think of that, Tony?
Um,
Incredible, isn't it? It's
it's you can hear the ambience in the Cook County Jail,
yes,
and you can hear
yeah,
clapping and screaming and people in there, and it's always something to hear those albums. There was a period in music where people were making albums in jails and things. It was I think it was a kind of a
yes,
Christian thing, like you're giving back to Jesus said you give back to the worst and try to save
yep,
them the most. And so there was, most infamously Johnny Cash, but then BB King.
yeah. It's pretty incredible. Can you imagine what a treat that would be to see B.B. King?
No, I couldn't. I
You know,
missed
you never
him.
forget that.
I wanted to see him. I missed him by a day, and my mother, unfortunately, she left the planet without seeing him, and she wanted to, and it's just one of those
Jeez.
things.
Yeah, yeah. Amazing artist. That's for sure. Okay, let's move along in our discussion of the detailed project description. Um, so IAC reviews the DPD, the detailed project description, first of all to see if it meets the information requirements, and it does this within 10 calendar days of receiving it. And once it's accepted, it gets posted on what's called the registry, and the registry is basically public. The registry is accessible through the IAC website, so it then becomes uh, public information. And then IAC makes a determination based on that DPD as to whether an impact assessment is required within 10 days of accepting the detailed project description. So I know I'm getting into a lot of details here, but I'm just trying to give you sort of the sequence of events and just how it works. It's all very logical. It makes a lot of sense, and as we move along in this, you'll see how everything fits together, because it's about gradually building up enough information about the project so that the regulators can actually make a judgment, and then go from there. And so now let's just remind our listeners that they can contact us at 1-844-424-0500. That's 1-844-424-0500. You can. We also take music requests as long as you provide us with a comment or question about the project. So let's now move to talk about the general requirements of a detailed project description. And some of this will be probably kind of obvious, but it's good to go through this. So um, the main requirement is that it has to be an accurate way of representing the project at the time that the detailed project description is submitted. That's one key thing. Um, the other thing is it has to be fully transparent. So if there's any options considered by the proponent with regard to any aspect of the project, that has to be backed up by information, so that information has to be provided. um, the other thing, and again, remember I was talking earlier about how this process is transparent, and it's very it's open to feedback, so there's a lot of consultation going um, on whether it's the IPD, the DPD, and then from the IPD review, there's a summary of issues, and then there's a response to the summary of issues from the proponent of the project. So the responses that the proponent or the person leading the project, or the person or organization leading the project, um, have to be included. Those responses have to be included in that detailed project description. So it's all laid out there. Um, and then you have to identify how the document may have been changed based on those responses. Um, and then the other general requirement is that the detailed project description should be as detailed as possible to help the reviewer, which in this case is the Impact Assessment Agency of Canada, determine whether or not an impact assessment is required. So they need that information. They need as much detail as possible. If they don't get it, they will come and ask you for that. But the idea is to give them as much detail as possible so they can have the sufficient information to make a decision. So that's basically how that works. And now I think we're ready for another musical interlude here. Tony, I think we're going to go. We're going to go experience a Texas flood by Stevie Ray Vaughan. What do you think about that? You know Stevie Ray Vaughan.
I, of course, do.
He moved. A lot of people know him after he moved sort of into the rock, popular music kind of genre, I think. But he's a blues guy through and through.
He's a blues guy through and through. I have it up.
Beautiful. Let's listen to Texas Flood by Stevie Ray Vaughan. Then we'll come back and get into the key components of the detailed project description.
sunshine every day.
Okay, we are back. That was Texas Flood by Stevie Ray Vaughan. Wasn't that great, Tony?
That's he's always something else. I heard
Wow.
rumors, and I guess they're confirmed that he played with Jimi Hendrix, and you can see the guitar virtuosity from Jimmy.
Yeah, yeah, he picked that up, obviously, right? Quite an influence, and that became his signature.
Uh,
That style, right? That
he was
style. It's
just
sort of like a
he's
little.
just a powerhouse when he picked that
Oh
guitar up.
man, the voice, unbelievable. Just the pacing of that song is fantastic. But
Great song, great
oh
song.
wow, we got more to come. We got more to come, Tony. Wait till you see what's next.
Oh, I'm excited.
So let's break down the key components of the detailed project description. One thing that's expected is any updates to general information, such as the project name or contact information. Um, uh, and one of the key components, as I sort of touched on earlier, is the planning phase results. So these could be updates on any engagement or consultation that occurred, um, responses to that summary of issues that was prepared by IAC once they received the initial project description. Um, uh, Project information is key. Whether it's the purpose of the project, the need for the project, potential benefits of the project, location information, precise location information, as well as context information. So understanding the overall region, where, for example, indigenous communities are located, where federal land is, any kind of legal description of the lands involved. So a lot of maps, obviously, maps and plans would be required as information in that section. Uh, Federal, provincial, territorial, indigenous, or municipal involvement in effects. So any record of that, potential effects of the project. So um, as environmental professionals preparing this, given the nature of the project, the professionals could anticipate potential effects. Obviously, they would identify ways to mitigate, but one of the expectations in this document is to identify potential effects. And then another key component is a plain language summary in both English and French as well. So let's look at those components individually now. Let's look at the planning phase results. So um, this would include the summary of results of any engagement that's been undertaken with Indigenous communities or other parties, the general public, um, a description of how the proponent plans to address the issues that were raised in the summary of issues. So people had these concerns. How did the proponent, the initiator of the project, respond to those concerns? And then a description as to how um, the proponent, the initiator of the project, will address issues related to the perspective of Indigenous groups regarding potential adverse or negative project impacts on their rights. So that's another key component. The need to identify any changes made to the IPD as part of the response to the summary of issues. So there's that initial project description. A summary of issues is prepared by IAC based on engagement and consultation, and then that goes back to the project team representing the proponent, and then they may, or depending on the nature of the issue raised, they may make changes, and so you have to identify what changes were made, and then identification of any project relevant studies or plans, such as regional or strategic assessments that are being or have been done already. Now, let's move on to the project information. any kind of updates to the purpose and need for the project have to be included in the detailed project description. Details as to how the project meets the provisions in the schedule to the physical activities regulations, IAC's physical activities regulations. The description of all activities, infrastructure, both permanent and temporary, and physical works associated with all phases of the project. For example, construction phase, operation phase, and all details must be included, including the purpose and size and capacity. And again, what this is all about is providing a very detailed description to the regulator, in this case IAC, so that they have enough information to decide whether it should be subject to an impact assessment. There should also be a description of physical activities incidental, sort of as a result of the designated project, sort of not directly from the project, but incidental to. And you have to identify who is undertaking these activities, the relationship to the proponents, and associated federal, provincial regulatory requirements. So there's a lot of detail that has to be provided as part of this document. Estimates of maximum capacity of the project, however that is defined. Schedule of all phases of the project, including key activities. Obviously, it can't be a detailed schedule necessarily, because maybe not all the details are known, or likely all the details are not known yet, but there needs to be a schedule just to provide a general timeline for the project. And then, of course, potential alternative means of carrying out the project and alternatives, but these are the ones that are technically and economically feasible. So lots of information is required, definitely, as part of this DPD. And I think we're ready now to move to another song. But before I do that, I'll remind everyone that they can contact us. Call or text us toll free at 1-844-424-0500. That's 1-844-424-0500. This next song is from another classic blues artist that I'm positive you've heard of, Tony, Mr. Muddy Waters.
Oh, yeah.
And the song is called Mannish Boy. So, Tony, if you can pull that one up. This is an old one. This is a really old one.
Yeah, this is back from when you were just getting out of university.
Yeah, that's right, Tony. Yeah. yeah, that's why I chose it, Tony. That's why I chose it.
There you go.
Mannish Boy by Muddy Waters.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Everything gonna be all right this morning. Oh, yeah. Woo! Yeah. Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man, way past 21. I want you to believe me, baby, I have lots of fun. I'm a man. I spell him H-I-N, that rubber thin Maine. No B. Oh, child. Why? That means Mannish boy. I'm a man. I'm a full-grown man. I'm a man. I'm a natural born lover's man. I'm a man. I'm a rolling stone. I'm a man. I'm a hoochie coochie man. Sitting on the outside. Just me and my mate. You know I made the moon, honey. Come up 2 hours late. Wasn't that a man? I spelled him H-I. And that rubber than Maine. No me. Whoa, child. Why? That mean manish boy. Man. I'm a full-grown man. I'm a natural born lover's man. Man, I'm a rolling stone. Man, child, I'm a hoochie coochie man. The lion I shoot and will never miss. When I make love to a woman, she can't resist. I think I go down to old Kansas too. I'm gonna bring back my second cousin, that little John the Conqueror. All you little girls sitting out that line, I can make love to you, woman, in 5 minutes time. Ain't that a man? I spelled him H-I. And that rubber then I'm grown. No be. Oh, child. Why? That mean manish boy. Man, I'm a full-grown man. Man, I'm a natural born lover's man. Man, I'm a rolling stone. I'm a man child. I'm a hoochie coochie man. Well, 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 well. Hey. Hurry.
Wow, Mannish Boy by Muddy Waters. What do you think of that, Tony?
That was great.
Isn't that amazing?
You grew up with him, right? You were of that age group.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I was, Tony. Yeah.
Was out 55, so that'd make you what, 90?
Yeah, about 90. I'm about 90. Yeah, that's right. 78 years ago, I remember dancing to that.
78 years. I like how you casually did that. 78 years ago, in Louisiana.
Yeah, that's right.
In the Louisian territories.
Back in the territory. Before it was part of America.
That's what we called them back then, the Louisian territories.
Moving along, let's continue with the. Oh, isn't that amazing? Oh yeah, I got one more to go. One more to go, Tony. Wait till you hear this one. Oh, it's a good one. Okay, let's finish off the DPD key components. Help start to finish these off, and another key component is the location information and the context. And I talked a little bit about this before, but the kind of specific requirements are geographic coordinates, of not only the project, meaning where the road, but also the ancillary facilities. So remember how I always talk about it being more than just a road. There's pits and quarries. There's laydown areas, storage and laydown areas. There's other facilities. There's access roads, other facilities associated with the road. So have to have a good idea of exactly where these are going to go, as to the extent of that you can at this point. Um, Description of the spatial boundaries of the study corridor, the consultation area. So, which, for example, Indigenous communities are going to be consulted, showing where these communities are geographically relative to the project. Showing proper site maps that are scale that people can actually understand and recognize things in. If there's a legal description, any kind of legal description of the land area, you need to show any reserve lands, lands used by traditional purposes by Indigenous people. So if that information is available, um, federal lands, physical biological environment. So describing that physical and biological environment, painting that picture for the regulators, for IAC, and then a health, social, and economic context as well. So then another final key component would be the federal, provincial, territorial, Indigenous, or municipal involvement in effect. So this could include any financial support received from federal authorities, federal lands that are maybe associated with the proposed project. Another one is an important one is a list of permits, licenses, or other authorizations that may be required by jurisdictions that have powers, duties, or functions related to an assessment of the environmental effects of the project. Um, and then a description of any changes to the environment or to health, social, or economic conditions that may occur in Canada that are directly linked or incidental to a federal authority that would permit or enable the project to be carried out in whole or in part. So a lot of components expected in this detailed project description. Not a small document, obviously. And okay, now let's talk briefly before we break for another song. Let's talk briefly about another key component, and these are potential effects of the project and the DPD summary. So this would describe any changes caused to fish and fish habitat, aquatic species, migratory birds as a result of the project, of actually carrying out and building and operating the road. Um, this would include description of any changes to the environment that may occur on federal lands, other provinces, or outside of Canada. It would also include a description of any impacts on Indigenous people when it relating to physical and cultural heritage, health, social, economic conditions, uh, how the lands are currently used for traditional purposes, any structure or location or thing that has any kind of significance, whether it's historical, archaeological, architectural. Um, and of course, last but not least, an estimate of project greenhouse gas emissions and likely waste emissions in the air, water, or land during the project phases. So not only during construction, but during operations as well. And then any management plans associated with those as well. And then finally, the plain language summary of the detailed project description has to be provided in both English and French. So we'll listen to one more song and then we're going to come back and wrap things up. This next song is another one from Muddy Waters. And I love the title on this one, Tony. It's got my mojo working by Muddy Waters. And you find that one in your extensive collection of vinyl records?
Collection.
You do? How about that? You got your mojo working, Tony.
It's a little under the weather today, but after listening to this, I'm sure it'll be fine.
I'm sure it will. We have that up and running. We're queued up.
Yes, sir.
Let's listen to Got My Mojo Working by Muddy Waters.
Got my mojo working, but it just won't work on you. Got my mojo working, but it just won't work on you. I wanna love you so bad, I don't know what to do. Going down in Louisiana to get me a mojo hand. Going down in Louisiana to get me a mojo hand. I'm gonna have all you women direction of my command. Got my mojo working. Got my mojo working. Got my mojo working. Got my mojo working. Got my mojo working, but it just won't work on you. I got a jailbird woman giving me advice. I got a jailbird woman giving me advice. I got a whole lot of tricks keeping here all night.
Okay, we are back. That was Got My Mojo Working by Muddy Waters. And I'm just going to wrap things up now with a quick discussion on the impact assessment determination. This determination as to whether an impact assessment is required is based on a number of factors, including the response to the summary of issues, possibility that the project may cause bad effects, like negative effects in areas that are under federal jurisdiction or have direct effects. Any negative effects it might have on the rights of Indigenous people. It also depends on relevant regional or strategic assessments that are being conducted under the Impact Assessment Act. And there's a number of other relevant factors as well too. So IAC actually posts on the registry a notice of its decision as to whether or not an impact assessment is required and the reasons for that decision. So that becomes public information. So that wraps up today's discussion of the detailed project description, a key part of the federal impact assessment process. We hope this was helpful and encourages you to join us again in a couple of weeks. Don't forget to keep in touch with our project team members via the contact information available on our website, northernroadlink.ca. Lots of information there. You won't believe how much information is there, and there's more coming. Tony, any last words?
It was a great day for blues, and I enjoyed the music selections, and it's a good day for blues.
It sure is. I don't feel the blues now after hearing the blues. Isn't that funny?
That's a good
Isn't that
point.
funny how that works?
Yeah, that's weird how
I
that
just
works.
wanted to segment which to everyone, and make sure you look out for project updates on social media and our website, northernroadlink.ca.
All right,
See
we'll
you
see
in
you
2
guys.
weeks.
See you guys next time.